We're gonna take it slow, take it easy, make sure everybody has a good time. Because what is skiing about? Having a good time. That's right.
When Ubisoft's Steep was first announced to the world, I was both excited and disappointed by it. One of my favourite games of all time is SSX3, which mixed its arcadey snowboard races in with a big open world mountain which let you, air quotes, explore the backcountry off the beaten track, away from the race courses and grind rails and half pipes. And if you wanted to take part in an event, you had to ride there yourself and follow the signposts, like the common scrub you really are. I mean, sure, you could use the menu systems to get about, but that option was there for the same reason that those packets of silicone that come with shoes have "do not eat" written on them. Idiots are out there and they have trouble sometimes. SSX was rebooted back in 2012, but frankly, the less said about that, the better. So when Steep was announced, I allowed some hope to creep into my cold black heart. This sounded like a true sequel to SSX3 in all but name. I mean, yes, you could use skis, paragliders and wingsuits, but there's mountains and snowboards, so it's all good, right? But this is where my disappointment came in. The more I read about this game, the more it sounded like an overhyped, overpriced tech demo. And we've already had one of those this year, we don't need another one, thank you very much. Any articles or videos focused entirely on the open world multiplayer aspect of it, which I'll get onto a bit later. And the fact it was plastered in GoPro logos made me think this would just be some sort of open world VR walking simulator, but with snowboards and wingsuits. Which, now I've actually said it, sounds pretty cool. But I'm a man who enjoys structure and guidelines. I'm not normally a fan of games which have no objective and let you make your own fun. Bollocks, give me objectives, give me targets, give me something to progress towards. This looked like it had none of it. And recently several big YouTube channels were given access to the game. All of the ones I saw focused on picking out a spot on the map and heading towards it, making their own tracks. Certainly quite an achievement, an impressive achievement. An open world game where the users create their own races, but not something I could be bothered with. I could tell I would likely enjoy the game, but not for very long, and in this age where a request for a demo is met with a confused expression or patronising laughter, I wasn't willing to drop £40 to find out whether or not I'd like it. Luckily, through my network of operatives and shadow agents, I ended up with a code for Steep's beta event. I normally don't bother with these things, as I'd rather not have my experience with the finished product be tarnished by possibly experiencing the same thing earlier on, but with bugs and missing textures. But when demos don't exist, this is the next best thing. And I'm delighted to announce that the structure and progression that I so crave is present here, so my biggest fear at least was put immediately to rest. To its credit, this beta version is friggin' huge. After a 19GB download, you are given access to a huge chunk of the Alps, with about 5 or 6 peaks to bugger about on. I was expecting maybe one mountain and a few race events scattered around, so to have access to such a large area was a huge surprise. Once you've played about with it and realised that you could get from any one of the peaks to the bottom in about 5 minutes, the size of this makes more sense. Apparently the full game will also feature the Rocky Mountains, so some of the names will be easier to pronounce, and I imagine the area opened up in the beta is only part of the full Alps section from the finished product. So, what's the actual game all about then? Well, after a fairly brief tutorial to get you to grips with the basics, you can take part in several types of competitions from all over the mountain range. Basically, you have your standard races through checkpoints to the finish line, where you have target times to beat to either get gold, silver or bronze. But some races may require you to score points through tricks, or by dodging obstacles. The wingsuit races may force you to score points by keeping closer to the ground, and the paragliding events may require you to keep close to cliff faces or performing hairpins around jagged outcrops of rock. This may not sound like much, but it's a surprising amount of variety, and the fact that there are so many different courses means it will take you some time until you find yourself running out of new courses to run. Additional courses are unlocked by discovering drop zones. As you bomb around the track or out in the open world, you'll occasionally get a notification that a drop zone is within range. It will then be shown on your map by a black and grey striped area. You unlock them by focusing on these areas with your binoculars. These give you another waypoint to teleport to, and sometimes give you access to more events. I like the idea of this. You can usually tell where a new drop zone will be by a large empty area on your map. But in one instance, it took me about 20 minutes to find it, as it was higher up than any other waypoint I had unlocked so far. So I near enough had to walk halfway up a mountain just to get the notification that it was in range. Which I suppose is better if there hadn't have been one out there and I'd just been wasting my time. But that's my point, it was a gamble. A long, drawn out and pretty dull gamble. In a game where you can skim down the side of mountains in a wingsuit and jump off huge cliff faces with a snowboard, having to trudge through knee-deep snow for 20 minutes is a bit dull. On a lighter note, the way the open world works is certainly unique, or at least it is to me. I've not seen anything like it before. You can see other players bombing around the place, and if you're close enough you can join together to make a party. You can have up to 4 players in a party, and while in that party you have access to all the drop points and discoveries that they have made, and you can teleport to their location wherever they may be. I haven't done much of that because I haven't been playing with friends and I just wanted to go and do my own thing. But it's a simplistic enough system to make it easy enough to group up when your friends are online and you want to play together. But it's the way the events work that really impressed me. All events are marked on the map, and when you get to them there's a checkpoint on the ground with a number of NPCs stood around them. Once you hit that checkpoint, the race starts and you're off, and those NPCs are coming after you. These NPCs appear to be the ghosts of other players that have run this course. There will be anywhere between 1 and 3 NPCs, each with a medal colour above their head, 1 gold, 1 silver and 1 bronze. Whether they are other players' ghosts or just NPCs added to increase the feeling of competition doesn't really matter, but it will make it so much better to know that once I've destroyed a target time on a run, that other challengers would have to beat my line and race against my player character. But I hear you cry, what if you're with other players and you want to race each other? Well, I didn't get a chance to try entering a race with another player, so I'm not 100% about whether any additional options become available to you in that situation. That said, I have coincidentally started a race just as another player did. So you are racing them and the NPCs at the same time. You can interact with them just as you can with anyone else at any other point in the game, but you can both come first. From what I can tell, you'll be joined in the race by your own copies of the NPCs, not with the NPCs that spawned for the other player. So you're not really competing against them, but it just means you can set up your own races as simply as setting up a waypoint on the map and going there with other players. One feature I absolutely love about this game is its respawn ability. Whenever you select a mode of transport, you mark the start of your run. Bail halfway through a huge trick, hold a button down for about a second and boom, you're straight back where you started. No loading, no waiting, just boom, and off you go. Honestly, if there was a loading screen during this process, it probably would have ruined the game for me. It reminded me of Skate on the PS3. You could set a respawn point and just keep warping back there instantly if you messed up a run. It allows you to explore more freely without worrying about getting back to the start. It makes it easier to keep trying over and over again when a tricky section is proving difficult to master. The point I'm trying to make is that this feature really opens up this game for me, making scouting out new routes a less daunting and risky task, and amongst other things has convinced me that this game will be worth a purchase on release. But it's not all mould wide and hunky ski instructors. There are some issues here which I really hope get ironed out before release. As I mentioned earlier, some sort of hint as to where the new drop zones would be nice, but this isn't a major problem. The biggest problem I had was with the camera. Now I was playing on PC with an Xbox controller. Now, as anyone will tell you, with third-person games, the left stick is for movement and the right stick is for the camera. Well, here that's not quite true. On a snowboard or skis, the left stick controls your direction of momentum, forward to lean forward and speed up, back to slow down and stop, and to steer. The right stick does the same thing, except for steering. To be fair, this largely isn't a problem. You don't really need to move the camera around. But sometimes, especially when you're moving at speed along uneven terrain, it would be nice to be able to move the camera around so you can actually see what's coming up in front of you, because occasionally the camera tends to duck down a little bit for some reason. Or when you've hit a tree and you can't tell the best way to move away from it, because you can't swing the camera around to get your bearings. I'm surprised such a basic and glaring omission was made, but then I suppose that's partly what beta testing is about, although it seems a bit close to release to still be having camera problems. The only other gripe I have is with pulling off tricks. Now, I hadn't forgotten about the tricks, here they are. Tricks are somewhat limited here, certainly when compared to skateboarding games or the SSX series. The tutorial does a good job of explaining how to pull them off, basically. You hold down a trigger button to get ready, release it to jump, and then move the left stick to either spin or flip. If you want to grab the board, you just hold down one of the trigger buttons to do so. Like I said, very basic and doesn't really leave much choice for variation. But this may have been deliberate. It's relatively uncommon to come across the massive jumps that the more arcadey games have gotten us used to. Although the ones that do give you massive air are usually accompanied by the Assassin's Creed Eagle's Screech, which is a nice touch in my opinion. so you don't often get much time to throw together huge complex tricks. But another issue tied into this is landing. It never explains, or if it did I missed it, how to properly land from a jump. Now most of the time you land fine and you carry on all happy because you're rad and awesome and just killed a sick run, yo. But sometimes you'll land and what appears to be a G-force meter will appear and deplete, as if you've just taken damage. Sometimes enough to make your ears ring and for the screen to go black and white. From what I could figure out through trial and error is that you need to land on either a flat or downward angled surface. If you land on the incline of a hill, you're going to land funny, lose momentum, and lose any points you may have made from that trick.
You're gonna have a bad time.
Which is fine, but this isn't properly explained. A similar thing happens when you find yourself stranded on a rock outcrop. It's as if the rocks are dealing you continual damage just by being on your board on top of them. That G-force bar will deplete until you fall over. So, just get off your board and walk off, right? Yeah, but then the race ends and you have to start again. And as I found on my 20-minute battle with that one particular track, it would be nice to have the option just to carry on with a bad run rather than start again and end up breaking my controller. So, to round this off, I can honestly say that I was pleasantly surprised with this game. I think I got lucky here as this event didn't seem like a beta. If I bought the game in this same state, I wouldn't be asking for my money back because it's not finished. This seems like a finished product to me. I love its well implemented multiplayer light features in a world that is so huge and so pretty. I mean, it really is pretty. I haven't mentioned it because it's a video and you can see how pretty it is, aside from the YouTube compression and the dodgy software I'm using to make these and sort of dull the graphics slightly, but still, it's a beautiful looking game. And while this isn't as cartoony and arcadey as the games I loved before it, it will do nicely at keeping the snow-obsessed segment of my brain happy for a good long while when it's finally released on the 2nd of December. So, if you've made it this far, well done, you deserve a medal. All likes, shares, compliments, criticisms, abuse, threats and disturbing suggestions are all greatly appreciated. This is still a very small channel and I'd love to one day hit 100 subscribers, so make sure to hit that subscribe button now so that if that day ever comes, you can honestly say you were here from the start and you can tell me how much of a sellout I've become and how much better this channel was back in the day. So, thanks very much for watching and I'll see you next time.